us about the direction the market is taking today and who's weighing the market down and why.
Thank you very much, Terry, and I'm really glad to be here. Basically, we are seeing as though the market is beginning to cool down. You've been seeing a very strong rally over the past 2 weeks, mainly pushed by Safaricom, which has been going up steadily. Today, we saw Safaricom dip slightly, and definitely because of the size of Safaricom, we see as though the market seems to be slightly declining, mostly because of a lot of selling and cashing in because of the retail investors. Most of them are selling, especially looking at the time in which we are in the year. We're seeing a lot of them selling, but institutional investors are still cashing in, and you're seeing a lot of demand on counters like Kenya Airways and Equity, though even for Safaricom, we're still expecting a bit of demand because we still feel as though the share is very promising.
When we spoke earlier, you mentioned that foreign investors seem to be taking a shift from the action and the activity we've seen at the Safaricom counter, and they're now moving to Kenya Airways and to Equity Bank. What's happening or what's interesting them in those particular counters?
Well, one of the things which we can observe, especially about Safaricom, is the liquidity of the share with 10 billion shares floated. Basically, they were able to pick significant blocks, especially over the past few days, and because of that, the supply seems to be pushing it down. But for Kenya Airways and Equity, those are some of the counters which for a while maybe had been almost missing the action, and with all that has been in the news, especially about the World Cup 2010 in South Africa and the co-hosting aspect of where Kenya Airways will benefit, as well as what has been in the news about Equity and their partnership with Safaricom has created a bit of demand in some of those counters.
Another notable counter is Kenyan Kobil. We've seen how they've engaged an aggressive acquisition plan across Africa, from Rwanda, Burundi and even Zambia, which we have seen this week. What are the prospects for this company, and how do you see oil prices this year affecting that particular stock?
Well, Kenyan Kobil has been one of the counters which had a bit of speculation, and one of the concerns about the stock is that basically the previous years they did not perform so well. There's a time they reported they even give a profit warning, but we are seeing them beginning to get back in shape, especially because of their expansion, especially in the African region, because basically they're taking advantage of some of the regions which are not very much affected by the recession. But looking at where we are looking at in terms of the future, we are seeing the economy is going to be growing, and some of the sectors are going to be sectors which rely heavily on petroleum. So definitely the future of the petroleum industry in Kenya is basically positive and relatively good, and you're looking at that stock in terms of growth. And also definitely recently they won a suit with the Kenya Pipeline Company, which basically was favorable, and so we are seeing a lot of speculation also on that counter, and we saw it really gaining a lot of points today.
Let's look at the retail investor who seems to be slowly coming back into the market. Looking at the market report today, activity just from the locals was about 30%. What is drawing them back into the market, and are they buying or are they selling?
Well, one major aspect that has really drawn a lot of retail investors back into the market is Safaricom, which for a very, very long time had been trading much below the IPO price. And enough of the retail investors, when we talk about 1 in 17 adults in Kenya having Safaricom share, well, immediately they learned that Safaricom is already trading above IPO price. There was a lot of stimulated demand, and when they saw the shares, it is much beyond their price. Some of them are going for some of these other stocks which have been relatively lowly priced, like Cooperative Bank and such stocks, which definitely they're taking advantage of. And also because of the new year anticipations, especially for some of the financial stocks like Kenya Commercial Bank, we are seeing stable demand.
Let's look at the banking sector. We're expecting the results of Q4 to start streaming in. Is this a counter that you'll be advising your clients to buy from? Well,
definitely we'll be advising a lot of our clients to look at the financial stocks, especially from the period of December, mainly because of what is expected, especially this year. If we look at some of most of the financials last year, apart from Standard Chartered, which recorded very good gains, most of the others were relatively depressed in terms of their performance. And we are looking at this year, the 2009, relatively providing more promising results, and so we would expect them to cash in and to take advantage of the corporate actions that will be coming in. Though I guess the other concern right now would be how the share prices have been going up, especially for some of the counters, Barclays Bank, which has gone up almost 10 shillings within the last 2 weeks, and being able to take advantage of such counters, especially noting some of the things like the pricing.